KSC presents. Doctors say these are the worrying warning signs of developing diabetes, and only women get them. Diabetes doesn't discriminate, the condition affects both men and women. But some symptoms that often appear before a doctor makes a diagnosis are reserved for just one of the sexes. As such, all ladies should know the warning signs that only they can experience, and some of them are quite subtle and surprising too. According to the Office on Women's Health, around 15 million American females have diabetes, and roughly 9% of the entire US population has the condition. Meanwhile, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimate that 7.2 million Americans have no idea that they are living with diabetes. Some people are oblivious to the warning signs of diabetes. After all, a number of them are not necessarily concerning. This is especially true for women, who have their own set of warning signs when it comes to diabetes, so learning them could help safeguard your health. In general, diabetes is a condition which causes your blood sugar, also called blood glucose, to reach an unsafely high level. But blood glucose itself is a good thing for you in the right amounts. The food you eat provides your body with glucose, which in turn is used to create the energy you need to power through the day. In order for glucose to become energy, it has to be stripped for the food you eat and then taken to your cells. A hormone called insulin does this job. The pancreas should make enough of this hormone to go around, but sometimes the body stops producing it. And this leaves the glucose in the blood, rather than it filtering into the cells. But having too much sugar in the blood can be seriously dangerous for your health. One major side effect would be diabetes, including both types 1 and 2. These diagnoses vary in that they are typically handed down at different points in a patient's life, although diabetes can happen to anyone at any age. Firstly, there's type 1 diabetes, which occurs in people whose bodies simply cannot produce insulin. Instead, the immune system wrongfully attacks the pancreas, based cells assigned to making the hormone. And because of this, type 1 diabetes is a more common diagnosis for children and young adults with the condition. Then, there's type 2 diabetes, which occurs when the body either fails to use insulin properly or does not produce enough of it. This situation can also appear at any age, but it tends to affect middle-aged and older adults most often. It's also much more common than type 1 diabetes. There are common characteristics that link those likely to have type 2 diabetes. Most of the time, patients are over 45 years old, tend to have a family history of the condition, or they measure innate and unhealthy weight, and some other factors can also help type 2 to develop, such as high blood pressure or physical inactivity. Treatment for diabetes varies depending on the categorization and severity of each patient's condition. Type 1 will always require a person to take routine insulin injections, since their bodies do not produce the hormone at all. Type 2 typically worsens with time, so insulin may not be required immediately. Furthermore, anyone with diabetes should take precautions to safeguard their health against other tangential health conditions. A balanced diet and frequent exercise can neutralize a person's blood sugar, and regular glucose readings can show a diabetes patient that they have healthy levels of the sweet stuff in their systems. Maintaining the right amount of glucose in the blood can prevent major health problems down the line too. High levels can lead to nerve damage, dental disease, and eye problems. In addition, excessive amounts of blood sugar can cause kidney disease, heart disease, and strokes. Some symptoms affect both men and women who have diabetes lurking in their systems. For starters, those with the condition find themselves regularly having to run to the bathroom. It's a defense mechanism that your body puts up as it starts to feel an excess of sugar building up. Forcing you to urinate flushes out the sweetness even if temporarily. A second warning sign goes hand in hand with frequent bathroom breaks: extreme thirst. It makes sense, given that regular trips to the toilet have you quite literally flushing hydration from your system. You can also pinpoint dehydration by checking your weight, since it might drop unexpectedly with the loss of so much water. More than half of people with type 2 diabetes also have something called neuropathy. According to a diabetes care review in 2017, this condition gives you that tingly, pings and needles feeling in your feet, hands, legs, or arms. It's linked to diabetes because it can affect circulation, which adversely affects nerves and blood vessels. Simply put, your limbs will start to fall asleep more often than ever before. Spiked glucose levels can actually cause bad breath in more ways than one. Without insulin, the body cannot process glucose for energy. So, it improvises and starts to burn fat to fuel you instead. A process called ketosis. One of its byproducts, a chemical called a ketone, can also have an unpleasant scent. Another potential diabetes symptoms is that your injuries refuse to heal. Perhaps you've had a cut or bruise that won't heal up or fade away. It all comes back to the lack of sensation in your limbs. The same one that makes hands and feet feel like they've fallen asleep, and without feeling in these areas, you might not notice when you're hurt. Men and women with undiagnosed diabetes should also evaluate their eyesight. Namely, their vision becomes blurry, all because of the heightened amount of sugar in their systems. A 2014 study published in the National Center for Biotechnology Information found a link between type 2 diabetes and yeast infections. Apparently, women diagnosed with the former were at a higher risk of developing the latter. The reason for the link was not clarified by the study, but considering the fact that diabetes indicates an abundance of sugar in the blood, there could be an easy explanation. Simply put, yeast thrives on sugar, and without a handle on your diabetes, glucose levels can rise. This gives the fungus a lot to feed on, which means it can grow and spread in the vagina zone, leading to a yeast infection. Another female-centric side effect of diabetes is a urinary tract infection, UTI. In general, women experience the latter condition 10 times as often as men do, according to the website Diabetes Self-Management. On top of that, more than half of the female population will have a UTI once in their lifetimes, while a quarter will deal with recurring infections. Some women with diabetes have trouble completely emptying their bladders too. If urine lingers in the organ for too long, it allows bacteria and infection to fester. As such, it's easy for a UTI to develop in diabetic women, and it could happen repeatedly. Finally, women with type 2 diabetes may have to contend with polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS. This condition causes cysts to grow on the ovary surface, most of which encompass undeveloped eggs. As such, many women with PCOS have irregular cycles and struggle to conceive if and when they want to get pregnant. Diabetes is a difficult diagnosis for men and women, but it's not an impossible one with which to deal. Instead, as previously mentioned, you can boost your physical health through exercise and healthy eating. Some patients will also require insulin shots or other medication to stay balanced and well. In the end, though such efforts are worth the time, you can avoid feeling many of the warning signs. So, it's important to keep such surprising symptoms in mind in case you start feeling chronically under the weather. It could be diabetes on the horizon, and now you know what to do to help yourself. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.